Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Game of Trades, and this is going to be a technical analysis of crude oil WTI futures. This is going to be a trade setup to the long side. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, helps me out a lot, and let's get right into it. So this is a daily chart of the crude oil futures, and as you can see, so far so good. We've had exactly what we expected to happen. We had this nice divergence on the RSI. RSI made a lower high, whilst price made a higher high, also whilst being overbought. So this is a double sell signal. So we had three targets to the downside, and we hit our first target. And there we were able to book some profits. We then had this basing pattern, and I talked about the MACD coming back down to the zero line to backtest the zero line. The zero line is a support level when tested from above on the MACD. If you trade with the MACD, you'd know that. When the red line comes from below, the zero line acts as resistance, and from above it acts as support, and that is exactly what we had right here. It acted as support, and so far so good. We are reversing off of it, and this is why I'm making this video for you guys to be able to have a nice long trade all the way back to this 66.8 level. So usually a backtest of the zero level is a pretty bullish sign. It means that this was just a healthy correction on a ongoing uptrend, and that's exactly what it's looking for me. This was, all I wanted to see. This was the minimum target that I expected. It was the I think it was the 20. Let me check the retracement levels, but I think it was the first retracement level, 23 retracement level. Yeah, it was. We reversed right at the 23 retracement level, which would, not make it an ideal correction, but definitely a healthy correction that you would see on a healthy uptrend. So that's what we got. We reversed off of it, backtested the support at the zero, and so far reversing. We just broke, a couple hours ago, a nice resistance level on the hourly. So I'm going to show you guys the details of the trade on the hourly chart in a second. But first I want to point out a few other things. You can see this uptrend line on the daily chart that we broke a couple weeks ago. Maybe last week. I don't remember, but we broke it. Made a video on that. This is when we had our official sell signal to come back all the way to this target. And so far we're reversing, and this could potentially just be the price coming back up to backtest the uptrend line. So it could just be a breakdown and come back up to the backtest, but that doesn't really change anything in our in our swing trade. Considering this to backtest, we're gonna have to go all the way back up to at least the same level that we were at right here, and it could be even quicker if that's the scenario that we're in. Otherwise, not much else to say. One thing to point out is the fact that crude oil is extremely correlated to the markets. So the S&P 500, if you're not following my videos on the S&P 500, make sure to follow those if you're trading the S&P 5, if you're trading crude oil, because they tend to go hand in hand. And if the markets start to give in due to bad news or bad technicals, well, crude oil is likely to go in the same direction. So be careful with that. Always keep your stops nice and tight, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you on the hourly chart. Some nice, very tight stops with nice support levels under us and a nice little target. You can see right here, this is my target for the swing trade, 66 point, let's call it 66.8 or 66.6, right at this level. Right under this level if you want to make it an official target, because sometimes these commodities can be tricky and reverse right before a well-watched level. So let's get into the hourly chart to see what's going on. Alright, so this was the break of trend line, some nice downtrend, and we had a nice divergence on the hourly chart that pointed out that this was likely the end of the downtrend, and that's exactly what it was. You can see the divergence here. MACD made a higher low, whilst the price made a lower low. You know, technical analysis is very simple when you know when to identify these, and when you know that they're important. You know, you can tell that this is the end of the downtrend, and that's exactly what it was. We had a nice basing pattern. We went sideways. Price waited to see what was happening, and then clearly we are breaking to the upside. Whilst, you know, again on the daily chart reversing off the zero line, confirming that it is a bullish trend, and so far we are above this hourly resistance level that we built with many reactions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, broke it, and now we are above it. So that would be the stop loss, 62.5. So, you know, almost a 0% loss right there. And potential gain is 5.6, 5.7% gains. So nice risk-reward ratio, especially on UWT. If you're trading the 3 times ETF like I am, that would be a nice 16%, give or take a percent, percentage gain. So 16% versus what is it, like 1% downside, potential downside. I'll take that kind of trade any day, and it's a pretty high probability trade. I'd say lots of things are aligning in the correct direction. Everything's looking pretty healthy on the daily chart. Same thing on the hourly. Not much else to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Good luck in your trades, and see you next time.